Good afternoon. My name is Beverly Chandra, and I am the founder of Women Against Human Trafficking, and I have had the pleasure of being asked, excited about this particular topic around being a rock star, in that how to recreate your life, how to pivot, how to go through a tough time and come out of it in a very positive place. Today, I have 4 guests. One is on the way, but I'm going to start by allowing them to introduce themselves. They have very deep spiritual backgrounds in yoga and meditation, and they're going to share their stories about how they have used yoga and meditation to manifest whatever they need to come forth in their lives, material and spiritual. And we'll just go around the room as we see on the screen. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tafara Andaze Panton, and you'll have to pardon any background noise that you're hearing from me because I'm currently on the road promoting a show that we're doing, but I'm an entrepreneur in Belize. I run both an accounting services business and an entertainment business. I'm also the treasurer on the board of Rhythm of Change, Rock Belize. I've been involved in the planning of the Belize International Yoga Festival, probably from the first year. And I occasionally teach yoga nidra at Om Shanti Studios, but mostly I practice yoga and meditation from a personal standpoint.
Thank you. Next, Zev Del El. And where are you?
Shalom, and thank you for having me. So my name is Enunciated Zav DL. It has a double meaning. It means my gift from God is a divine mind, and I am a gift to the people. I'm a jewelry designer, a crystal therapist, a community organizer, and I have a nonprofit program called Kinder Gardens Academy, and it's located here in Atlanta, and we're excited to be here and be a part of this conversation.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Shabazz.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Really excited to be part of the panel. I think in relation to Belize, I'm the ambassador at large since 2002. So I get to have a very long, loving relationship and to watch amazing things come out of Belize that touch the lives of not just the countrymen, but those of us around the globe, such as this entity. Around year-round, my work is one that inspires or engages or guides those to that fulfillment.
Thank you very much. So you see, and we have one person that may come in later, but we're going to keep it moving because of our time limitations. The topic: release, overcome, and create. Release whatever that is no longer serving you. Overcome whatever challenges that may be in your way that you feel that I can't get past this, and create. How to create a new pen table conversation versus question answer, because sometimes when you're at that time, that will make it more sensible to someone listening to this now or later. So let's think about the last year, particularly when the pandemic started, what you were doing and how did you feel? And did you know that what you were going to do about moving forward to get past all of the anxiety, if you felt it, if you had a business and you lost business, you lost income and funds, if you lost any loved ones to COVID-19, friends, family, and even business associates. I personally lost a lot of business associates to COVID-19. Tell us, anyone can start the conversation, where you were and how you felt at the beginning of the COVID-19 through 2020.
Well, I'd like to be a gentleman and let the lady speak first.
Okay.
I guess I can go first. For me, I was in Belize, and entertainment is one of the major businesses that I do, and it was completely shut down. It still is actually. We're having to find new ways to kind of be creative in that field and still get entertainment out. As I mentioned earlier, I'm actually on a little small country tour right now promoting a comedy show that we're doing. But for me, it was a lot of anxiety of not knowing what was going to happen. And, you know, especially with COVID being such a social disease. I mean, we knew from the beginning. We actually had a show scheduled in March, a big concert. And before the country shut down, we actually canceled the show because we were very aware from the very beginning that we could become a space for being a super spreader. So when you're in a business where you could be the cause, you know, of getting people sick and so sick that they could die, it's actually quite nerve-wracking.
How
So,
old a business do you have? How long have you been in business?
so I mean, I've been in entertainment pretty much all my life, but this particular company, we've been around for, this year will make 12 years now. And we've been doing open air concerts and special events. And so, yeah.
I asked that question because here in the United States, I've been a small business owner for 17 years. And it was weird how even people that were in business for 10, 15, 20 years still were not prepared for COVID-19 and the impact that it had on their finances, the impact that it had on having to let people go, to terminate people from the jobs, and how it just kind of shut us down. How did that affect your business?
It was very heart-wrenching. A lot of people look to my business for like additional income because whenever we have shows, we have anywhere from like 55 to 100 people on staff. And
That's
then
a lot of people.
and you know, we would have like 5, 6 shows a year. And you know, like I said, the first part of it was to know that just by doing what I do, you know, I could get people sick. That was something that we had to kind of sit back and be like, whoa. You know, later when I started kind of dealing with the facts of what we were going through, and you look at history will tell you that it will repeat itself in about 100 years or so. And I think, you know, that helped me to kind of balance my mind and say, okay, we've seen this before. You know, we have an idea of in the past how it affected people, how long it lasted. And that kind of helped to stabilize us and, you know, get us into the mind of, okay, what do we do in this time period where we can still be able to employ people and be creative, you know, because I think that what we do, music, you know, any kind of talent, any kind of art is very important to people's sanity, to their peace, to their
peace, sanity. You know, in the United States, your size business makes up about 80% of the businesses. And so this type of information, hindsight, is just coming out. You would think that most of the money that came from really large Fortune 100 companies. But in fact, it's your size business that touches the lives of that many people. Because some of these other companies, maybe they hire 10 people, maybe they don't. Okay, maybe they may reach 20, but they never. But when you're hiring 40, 50, and 60 people for an event, that's like a lot of money, capitalism, consumerism. A lot of touch points are happening there, and you are really what makes up the economy, even though you never get credit for it. Okay,
right? It's so
never
funny
get credit for it. The money is never coming. Nobody is coming to you in advance. Your banker didn't contact you talking about here's the pandemic money. Okay, no, you had to be creative on the fly. As you saw it happening, you wasn't not counting on the news to get your news. You were on the ground, real time, not knowing what to do. So how did you use the practice of yoga and meditation to fuel your wisdom and insight as to what you had needed to do for not only your company, but 50, 60 people?
Right, because you know, as you said, we don't get enough credit because, you know, I'm talking to the boutique owners and the street food vendors and the taxi drivers and they don't have income because entertainment is not operating, and it's not just our concerts, it's restaurants, smaller events, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and we're affecting a lot of people. So um balance has been a theme in my life for as long as I can remember, because I feel like I'm always doing like 20 million things, going a million miles a minute. I always look to meditation specifically for that balance. And interestingly enough, it actually I was able to like create a more structured practice. It was very easy for me to say, oh, I can't find time in the morning to do my meditation. If I don't get up at 4 or 5, I just have to keep going. I have to miss it. I have to do it another day. If I don't complete my day before a certain time, I'm not able to get in my practice. But it really taught me that even if I'm gonna sit for like 15 minutes and meditate, or even if I'm gonna do a half an hour of an hour or 90-minute long practice, that is like the core of where my balance is at. In the beginning, I was definitely the germaphobe, like wiping down everything, looking around. I don't want anybody near me. But it's impossible in the kind of industry that we're in, and we have an inner drive to create. It comes from a place of passion, so you cannot sit still and do nothing. So I was really able to create a more
Because
structured
you are a
practice.
driver personality. A lot of people sat and watched TV the whole time. Okay.
Oh, I would go
Okay. They
insane.
were Netflixing it. They weren't doing anything. They were collecting checks and just chilling. But your personality, your purpose, your passion, your solution that you provide to the universe wouldn't allow it. And so
Right.
you would do your practice and keep it moving. So tell the audience, what is it? A lot of people don't know about meditation and yoga. They don't know the benefit of it. So can you explain how it helped you to keep it all together? So because it was really, you had a huge responsibility. That was huge. And a lot of people could not have gotten through it. But tell the audience how yoga and meditation really works in helping you to do that.
There's so many different types of meditation practices that you can do. And I think what's really important is finding what works for you.
Mhm.
I really enjoy japa a lot. I really enjoy things like nidra. The thing that is key for me with meditation is that it allows you to sit and tune into where the answers are, which is actually within. You know what I
Right.
mean? Everybody's
Mhm.
always looking outside like, oh
Looking
my gosh, what should
outside.
I do? What should I do? What should I do? But if you actually sit with yourself and you're quiet, which is the core of meditation,
Mhm.
you're able to connect to that being inside of you, which is connected to the divine, and that is where your answers come. It's like, any creative person, I mean, I can't describe it any other way because I'm a creative person, but when something comes to you and it inspires you, it's coming from a higher place, and
Mhm.
sometimes things come to me in meditation when I'm
Okay.
just being quiet and listening to, that connection with divine.
And being quiet during a period of chaos. So that's the other thing that we want to share with the audience is that meditation and yoga, it doesn't matter what is happening around and outside of you. It really, you will be the calm in the storm every time using this practice. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. We're going to come back to you and get more from
Thank
you, but
you.
we want to keep it moving just in case our fourth person shows up and we want to give him some time. Ambassador Shabazz, what can you share with us around yoga and meditation and your experience working with this organization? Oh, wait, what? Let me see.
There we go. There
Okay.
we go.
All
Well,
right.
I'm glad you mentioned the organization, the foundation, because I really want to give homage and thank you to Miss Martha Williams and Michelle Williams, a matriarchal union of mother and daughter, from where this genesis and this opportunity today and beyond offers us a collective space for holistic healing and introducing to Belize and something that that the citizens have access to, as well as the tourists. And that's via Om Shanti Yoga, Rock, Martha's Cafe, and the tranquil grounds and cottage that they've just created, and we talk about this particular segment, for everyone to have access to. This is like an oasis right in the middle of what is urban Belize City. And so no matter what you're doing, if you touch down, you have any aspect. So you don't have to be a yoga practitioner. You don't have to even know what it is. But when you wander over, you find yourself engaging in pieces and being introduced to it because it allows you, they welcome you in such a wonderful way. And I watched the genesis of this emerge over the last 7-8 years, but even prior. What happened? What moved them in the direction? So when we talk about release, overcome, and create, they are themselves the affirmation of that transformation. And you can, even though it doesn't fit with rock, you have to add in then gifting, sharing, or something at the end, because they could have hoarded it,
Right.
but they are perpetually finding different layers and ways and outlets and arteries that this experience is accessible to absolutely everybody. And that's where I get to really feel the kinship. I should be there in Belize, and because I had a family loss, I am, still stateside, but I couldn't not be a part of it because I'm an absolute advocate, appreciator of watching the ache become joy for people, human beings, that could have stood still, but instead made sure that others are on the journey of wellness. And so, I myself am not a practitioner of yoga, but I've always been, since childhood, a meditator, one who felt one or kinship with the greater spirit. In all of my family's, like 4 religions that converge. And as a child, you don't know the name of any of those things. You don't know the practice of those things, but somehow or another, authentically, you know the existence of the greater spirit. And I was tuning in early. As a matter of fact, I'm a bit too porously sensitive to all of the elements, and so meditation, again, before I knew that's what it was called,
stillness prayer.
I was doing that as a child, to the chagrin of the adults around me, not understanding what that was. And so as a result of having experienced that young, I make sure that when I'm around young people, other children, and why ROC, what they do when they provide various kid yoga or kid mindfulness, spreading it through the elementary and secondary schools there, the access to the inner power.
And the prison system.
But just inner power, period, all people, right? All souls are the conductors of that place and giving people the right and the tools. So if you miss Sunday at church, you miss Friday at Juma, if you miss Saturday at Sabbath, you haven't missed this inner spirit, the almighty or the greater spirit or the breath is actually your proprietary space for this transference. And so for me, being able to be part of anyone doing that good work is really a treasure for me. And as you had asked Ms. Pantone about the calamities of last year, I think the forced stillness of the pandemic made people figure out breath. I think we're always running, we're always moving, we're always trying to keep up and race the clock. And there was a forced stillness that I think people discovered breath, even if they have no name for it, no matter the name it what you want. But suddenly realizing that the calendar that was imposed is really not the calendar of life.
Absolutely.
The itinerary of life. For me, I was 2 days from getting on a plane. So I would have been there with you, Miss Pantone, for at least a year. Had I gotten on that plane.
How about that?
Yeah,
How
for
about
March 16th, I was due to be in Belize, and the country or the world shut down the 13th or 14th. And we didn't know for how long. But what happened, I happened to be based at the time in Louisville, Kentucky, which was also the epicenter of where Breonna Taylor was. So we got to now again try to figure out, where do you place breath, pause, when there's a real life occurrence, when there's a real tragedy that's impacting, and that it didn't stay small, it metastasized.
Yes.
And it added on to the aches that moved around the globe. It just rippled, and it, you know, it touched. And then you add a name, you add an ache, add a challenge, add aspects of history that were unresolved. And so I was amidst that. While it seemed like there was no light at the end of the tunnel, living.
I think we have a little hiccup in the
As long as I have now.
Okay. You broke up just a little bit. Maybe the internet
Pardon?
connection, your internet connection. We had a little hesitation from you, so there was a little gap there.
I don't know where I was, but yeah.
You were about to go to Belize before the pandemic, the country shut down. And if it were not for that, you would have been in Belize and maybe not been able to get home because, you know, no travel and a whole lot of other things that happened.
It's okay for me to be stuck in Belize.
I feel the same. And I would like to share a little personal story. I went to Belize for the first time this summer, just as someone invited me. I sell real estate in Pennsylvania, and one of my girlfriends I grew up with is wanting to relocate out of the United States and was looking at Belize and asked me to come along just because of my real estate background. And I said, I'll come, but wherever we stay, one, I don't want to stay at a hotel. Two, we got to stay at some type of resort where they have yoga and meditation, just because it's a lifestyle for me. And that's how we found Michelle and her mother's place.
Wonderful, right?
Yeah, it was absolutely the best thing for me and my friend who doesn't practice either one, but was an experience for her too. So I do encourage, if you're listening to this, you absolutely have to check out the resort. It is the best thing, with a vegan cafe, yoga, meditation classes, swimming, right all in the same compound. It is absolutely fabulous. So do want to give a shout out to Michelle and her mother for the great work that they are doing. Is phenomenal. So I'm glad we were able to come home, but we're coming back. So we should be back in Belize in a couple of months. Do you have anything else, Ambassador Shabazz, that you want to say?
I don't know where I was cut off, but I was just saying that I was here in the midst of the epicenter where Breonna Taylor lost her life. And watching young people careen, where I didn't even know the term Gen Z until I met them.
Okay.
I thought the last group was the millennial. You know, that tells you how old I am. But I created a civics fellowship because I saw idealism at stake during that time, and too much politics and unresolved directions were, and I saw the spirit, and they reminded me more of the children of the 60s, where idealism and hope was really paramount, where rights, human rights, equity was not just a trend or a fad, but it was a definitive mission. And they were between 16 and 23 years old, and we were together 6 days a week, working on ways in which they could feel empowered, even if their voice was not.
Right. Okay. Now, according to the time, it looks like we only have a couple minutes left, but that can't be. I'm assuming that they're going to give us at least 45 minutes. So I want to move on to our last speaker, since the fourth person didn't come. Zev DL, would you like to tell your story?
Sure.
Okay, I couldn't figure out why that was. All righty. Okay. All righty.
Excellent. So first, giving all honor and praise to the Holy One of Israel. Shalom, shalom. I'd like to preface my insight to the COVID situation just by sharing a definition of what create is. And it's very simple. It's to bring something into existence. And all of us were created to specifically create something. And my journey of healing and recovery really, sources from a failed marriage that triggered a flare up in an unresolved and suppressed childhood trauma, all coinciding with a career path expeditiously derailing. And this caused me to face, so many challenges head on that I really didn't know how to gain leverage. But it was my inward seeking to understand that I needed to wean off of the external sources of love, acceptance, and validation, and learn how to love myself and accept myself. Questions like, how am I to properly appraise my worth, when I'm homeless, when I'm jobless, when I'm unmarried, and my quest was to understand what were these hands of mine divinely calibrated to create. That was like my most passionate prayer and meditation. But I had accepted an offer from a holistic massage therapist from my community in Israel. And she expounded how these flare-ups of suppressed childhood trauma weren't going to be bypassed with just, physical therapy and releasing of stress, but it was, to use some of these other practices, like crystal therapy for me, which would help me to deepen my cognitive awareness of the answers which were inside of me as to what was I to create. So this really set me on a path to really understand why I had such a regenerative experience within this crystal therapy and started to embrace crystals. And I began to research and refine the knowledge that I had. I thought they were just rocks, how's it a crystal therapy? But, I began to really express and create with these stones jewelry for myself to be an active reminder to the dormant blessings that I was a bearer of. And, through, meditation, through, yoga, self-love practices. And so as I was sharing before, I had been introduced to crystals in a very holistic and spiritual way. And I began to research the application of crystals and seeking to consecrate them for myself so that they would be a constant reminder of the conduit for change in my own life that I was to represent on my own behalf, and to practice, forgiveness of myself and accepting of my divine gifts. So what became out of that was a creation of a collection of crystal jewelry that is called Shivat Sion, which means return to excellence in Hebrew. And I began to provide them for others, cleansing and anointing them and activating them with sound therapy. And it became to the extent where that wasn't enough for me. There was something more than just a trinket that I was supposed to give to someone or to have available or to offer. But there was some emotional shift that I was supposed to facilitate, just as I had been facilitated years prior using these same tools. But for the past 2 years, I've been offering crystal therapy, which I like to say in layman's terms is an enhanced guided meditation using tools to accelerate your cognitive awareness of not only your body, but your mind and your spirit and the fullness thereof. So that has kind of been the crown on my healing journey, using my creations, what I was inspired to create, to be able to offer so much more value to others. And at the onset of the pandemic, I had actually just opened up a boutique here in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And that was very much rerouted off of the rails. And so being that it wasn't deemed essential, I had to, again, focus inwardly and say, okay, well, what is this situation calibrated to bring forth out of me? What more am I to unearth from the indwelling of the divine mind that has been gifted to me? And over the past, several years, traveling to Zimbabwe, I actually befriended an herbalist who gave me a tour of his children's primary school. And that tour really bore a seed in me, seeing the needs of often rural conditions for learning, through which children could be taken from being the custodial staff and the landscapers of their campus to empower them to become the captains of industry within their own communities. So kindergartens was a second tier of the creativity from my
Can I get you to roll back just a little bit before you get into the kindergartens, because that is certainly an important conversation. But back as it relates to the crystals, how can you describe, to get people to know how they work? A previous conversation, you used an example of a paperweight, which
Yes.
I felt was a very good example to kind of condense it and describe it without getting too much into it. So can you relay that information?
Yes. So let me just back up a little bit and identify that in our physical bodies, we are simply a very complex vehicle for electromagnetic energy, for minerals, for heat, and of intellect, of light. And being that we are minerally formed and molecularly, patterned or calibrated, we are able to symbiotically include minerals, i.e. by the foods that we eat, by the crystals that we adorn ourselves, by the minerals that we add to our foods and into our water. So crystals are nothing new to us. We may be, extremely distant or foreign in our comprehension of them, which a lot of us are on our healing journey, but they are not to be deified. They're not to be, really given praise or accolades to the point where the divine isn't already in you. And this is simply a reminder of what the divine has already encapsulated inside of you. So to me, I took the approach, to steer away from, anything that wasn't of the Most High's, highest service, to say that let this just be a paperweight to my consciousness, that it's a point noted vibrationally of the aptitude to aspire for. So it's not necessarily, that this crystal or these crystals are anything outside of me that are giving me powers. They are simply helping me to remain mindful of the powers within, and to cultivate and to calibrate and to unearth and to offer a higher vibratory offering of what the divine has already calibrated us to create.
And I think that's a good example, a description of it, because as I have said before, that a lot of people buy crystals, small, big, large, they're all over the place. They wear them on their bodies, they're all over through the house, they're on outside, they're everywhere. But really, what does it mean, and what are they transmitting from these crystals? And I just thought that was a really good explanation. As it relates to the work that you are doing over in Africa with your nonprofit, you want to describe more of that and how you co-created that foundation?
Sure. So some of my brothers from Israel have a nonprofit organization called Youth Aiding Humanity Incorporated. And at the head of the COVID pandemic, it was just kind of like a nudge to me to say, hey, that curriculum that you've been talking about for years and years, why don't you break ground on that? If you just plant the seed, we will help to collaborate with you and to elevate the program to where it can be an international success that you envision it as. So Youth Aiding Humanity is an umbrella organization for several other dynamic programs that are fueled by scholars and business entrepreneurs that are seeking to pour into the lives of youth around the world and inspire them to blossom in their greatness. So it was an easy win-win for the two of us to work together. We also have inroads that were tied because of that into the Restoration Village Farm in Ghana, West Africa, which has recently been awarded the very first acknowledgement of being an organic farm in Ghana as of last year. And just to outline Kinder Gardens, it is a program that pours into children and community the knowledge of sustainable organic gardening, as well as plant-based nutrition and medicine, and ecopreneurship. So those are our three pillars into building community through the principles of kindness and patience. We not only grow food, we grow people. We not only cultivate the soil, we cultivate community. So that's just a little bit about who and what Kinder Gardens is.
And you're doing the same in the United States and in Atlanta too. You have a program in Atlanta too, which is is needed here too. Because of the amount of toxicity that's in the food that people have no choice but to buy in supermarkets in the United States if they can't afford to do holistic healing or holistic eating or whatever. It's a real problem here in the United States too. So we really need to see more farming done in every urban community so that people can have decent food to eat. I would like to give a shout out because the reason for the 6th annual Belize International Yoga Festival is actually to raise money. It's to raise money to support all the programs that Michelle and her mom and all the subsidiary organizations do all year long to teach the people some of these practices that calm them down and help them find their center, from children to adults. I don't even think they have an age limit as to who can participate in the activities. And I have seen videos of Michelle in schools, in the community, and in prisons. And I just find it fascinating, particularly the schools and the prisons, because here in the United States, we have such a problem with public schools and the kids not learning. And we have such a problem in prisons. And yoga and meditation, I am pushing all the time. Every time I see someone on social media talking about yoga and meditation in schools, I'm right on it. Okay, and I'm going to start sending them your way because we have to do this in the United States. If it can work in Belize, it certainly can work in the United States. So everyone listening, whether it be now or later, you want to go to their website and you want to hit the donate tab all year long. Let's not make it just now. All year long, they need funding to continue to educate and provide the services that they are doing this good, healthy work. Okay, you got that? All right. Now, our fourth person, I guess that person is not going to show up. So we are going to fill in some time unless we have run out of time with regard to this conversation. Is there something right now going on within the organization, like coming up, going on today or tomorrow, that we would like to share with our audience? Anything? Anyone have anything out there?
We've actually been working with and now all the names are going to escape me, of course.
I couldn't begin to do it. So,
but we were working with the Ministry of Education and some other organizations to put together some classes where the school counselors. That was one of the organizations, the school counselors organization, where the school counselors and also the students can look at these, access these programs online and we talked about everything from yoga, meditation, sleep, diet, mental
Fabulous. Yeah.
and all that stuff. And we've also been recording specific classes for children of all ages where they can access online. So the pandemic has really pushed us in a direction where, yes, we are making all these programs available to the community, but now you can also get them online. And you can find some of those programs right there at yogahealsbelize.com. And I apologize for not remembering everyone's.
That's what the internet is for. So go to the internet, go to their website, and like their website. That way, anything that's coming up, you're going to get, it's going to come in your Facebook feed, so that you'll know what the programs are and what they are doing. Now, these programs, I assume they are free via online. Are you charging for the program?
By donation. I believe most of them are by donation.
Right.
And I believe the school counselors one was given directly to Ministry of Education for them to have the counselors have access to that. So
okay, so if you're looking at this now or later or programs, you do want to donate whenever you can, whatever you can. No amount is too little, I'm going to assume. If you're out there and you know of grant money or funding that would fit right into the bucket with these people and what they're doing, you should reach out to Michelle or her mother or whomever on the internet to be of service in that way. We, as it relates to being sustainable, we will not be able to be sustainable on this earth without these types of services. And for people learning to breathe, meditate, yoga, or whatever else you do to keep calm and to create and to be collaborative. It's not going to happen. We need people from all walks of life, regardless of where you live, regardless of what your culture is, to come together. We're more alike than we're not. And we all need to be sitting down and breathing and thinking about how we can make the earth a better place to live. And meditation and yoga, because I have been doing it a whole lifetime, I can tell you it has saved my life a million times in a million different ways. My own personal story as it relates to women against human trafficking, I created it or got involved in it sitting at home during the pandemic. The year before, I had nothing to do with women against human trafficking, absolutely nothing. But sitting at home and watching the news and watching all these people go missing activated something in me. And I got busy and I got started. And it was through meditation. I was meditating at least 2 or 3 times a day just to keep it together and to figure out how, as a small business, I was going to get through the pandemic and not catch COVID-19. So it really does work. And I encourage, if you're out there listening, that you check this system out, that you take a class online with Michelle. And I tell you, Michelle does the best breathing I have ever heard in my life. Okay. It was amazing. I was on site and listening in the class.
Miss Beverly, can I chime in on that?
Yes.
I would like to second that. Myself and my fiance, we were actually in Belize this past June, and we had stayed at her villa and went to get some breakfast and came downstairs to do some yoga before we went to the airport. And she was like, "Oh, would you all like to sit in with me for this International Yoga Festival?" And so last June, we were in Belize with her, and it was stellar.
I've never heard anything like it. And I'm like, she's a goddess. What is that? And I have listened to, over 40 years of me doing this, a lot of different people that claim to be this, that, and the other, but they don't have anything on Michelle and her own. Okay, so therefore, if you want to reach a different level of your own, you want to check out Michelle and one of her online sessions.
And I
And
just
I
want to say that that breathwork series, that she has a breathwork series online too that she did, and we now have it on rotation for the females in the female prison. So
okay,
that has been doing like wonders for them over there as well.
right, and that's what I saw the video of that, and the warden said himself, it has been a new calm within the prison system amongst females after taking these classes. Now, if that can work there, it can work in other prison systems, and it certainly can work in schools, and it certainly can work in your own household. No need to be fussing and fighting when you can do some deep breathing. Okay, does anyone else have anything else to add to the conversation before we go?
Actually, I just wanted to share that while we were on this talk, it just came to me as a reminder that after all the anxiety and overcoming all that and finding some structure and some new existence, I became very grateful to be kind of in a time where the world is changing, because again, I relied on history a lot to get me through as well. If we look back 100 years, when these kinds of big shifts happen, the world really changes, and we're able to create something completely, new
New.
and evolutionary. And despite all the suffering, I've just been very grateful that I'm living in a time where we can create something completely new.
And you not suffer while doing it. And I have also observed that there are a lot of women now opening up their mouths. Before, they may have been shy or just felt it wasn't their place or just felt suppressed. But even in the last couple of months, I have seen that amongst my circles, that women are really stepping up and moving into more leadership roles without the title. You don't need a title to be in a leadership role. You just need to start doing. Okay. And you don't need to think that, what other people are thinking about you. Just know internally what your intention is. Just stick with your intention and you'll be fine. And no one is perfect. I'm not perfect at anything that I do, but I get up every morning and I do something. So, okay, I think that will sum it up. And again, everyone, check out the International Belize Yoga Festival today and tomorrow. Runs all day today and tomorrow. There's plenty to do, plenty to see, plenty to learn. And of course, if you can, please donate. Donate today if you can. And at any time you get on and you take a class or something, throw some dollars their way. And if you know anyone that is looking for an organization to give money to, this is the one to do it. Okay.
I'd like to be able to add, if I may. I want to thank you, Ms. Chandran, for your moderation of this and your reiteration and acknowledgement of your experience, what brought you back, what makes you advocate, and your referencing the importance of ROC, Rhythm of Change. I'm a proud honorary board member and have been involved a while. And it's not just an organization. It really is it's an in motion, evolutionary, transformational action, and all parties that are on board, as well as Mr. Benedriel. I love that you were a visitor and you spoke of it so fondly. It is just because of the authenticity. It's 360 degrees of actualization. And we don't always get to say that. So you don't have to go to a typical resort. You can actually come to the home of the Williams. And in that urban ghetto somewhere else, I mean, just Miss Panton can tell you that just 8 years ago, it was concrete. And now it's breathing life, right?
Yeah,
and
a whole lot of life.
And that it's come one, come all. And that is really, really very significant. And then we deploy.
And to add to that, the women that are looking to leave the United States and looking at Belize as one of the places to relocate, I tell them all the time, you need to be near this organization. Okay, if you don't know anybody over in Belize, and if you're going to be there, you need to be around wholesomeness. You need to be around peace and people that are creating and care about you and other people. And then you can contribute your gifts that you have, your years of experience in corporations. If you have money that you want to donate, if you want to volunteer, but you really need to be close to this organization. So when we come back, we'll be visiting again and be looking around as nearby as we can.
And Miss Chandra?
Yes.
I'd like to thank you for that invitation personally. On behalf of Youth Aiding Humanity Incorporated, we will be sending a delegation to do just that.
Okay.
That's superb. And I please know that my ambassadorship at large this is what I do. Is making sure that the bridge globally touches and connects not just one place, but all over. It's the generational confirmation of my family. It's what we live to do, so that worlds are not defined by first, second, and third, but that there's a synergy of engagement all the time. And so that there's no limit to that. Currencies should not be defined by money or dollar. It's really by the collective engagement. So I look forward to that. Any way that I can help facilitate those said delegations and making things smoother and transfer from one country to another country and preparation, and so that the curation of engagement is honored.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you all for joining us today. And again, don't leave the event though. This session is over, but you want to go on Facebook and look at the itinerary and plug in and look at some of the other activities as I will be doing this over the weekend. All right, everyone, have fun and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shalom.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the 6th Annual Belize International Yoga Festival. Show your support to Rhythm of Change Belize by donating to www.yogahealsbelize.com. Inhale. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Perhaps you're having an argument with someone and you want it to end. Place your intention now.
This looks like a regular yoga class.